Unlike most of the notable events in my life, this story begins with yet another random encounter in a long series that started before I was born. Unlike most, this one seemed harmless, even helpful. My plan was to walk through the granite pass over the mountains to the foothills of Croatia. I had no important reason to go there, except that I never visited the northern part of the continent before, and my tattered old copy of Wanderer's Guide described it as a pretty nice place where I could stay over the winter and then move down to the coast or any other place that I'd like to see next. According to the guide, there was plenty of time to make it through the pass, but this year winter decided to start the show a month earlier than usual. On my own, I would have ignored the light snowfall and dark clouds on the horizon and went on. But I met a small caravan whose tracks I was following for the past few days. At first, the annoyed merchants returning back from the pass were surprised by a random encounter with a lone woman in the middle of nowhere, especially since they thought I must be a lost human girl. It's common for people who don't know me yet and see me only from a distance to expect a short, chubby girl. My head that's a bit too big and my overall non-standard proportions make me look like a small but well-fed thing. In a way, it's true. My mother always considered me a tiny, sickly little girl, and if she hadn't been kicked out of her tribe, I would have been considered a midget there. But normal humans who get closer to me quickly realize that I'm as tall as most human males. They usually just shrug and ignore my differences from the standards of humanity. Some, especially those who fancy big, voluptuous women and can't take no as no, tend to be more suspicious of my origins. Usually right after they find out that I'm stronger than most human males.
The damn pass is already full of snow. There's no way to get through now. We're going to the Fort Asbro as a backup plan. You look like a well-traveled and capable lass, but you should consider turning back. Maybe come with us to the Asbro.
There was a sign pointing there at the crossroads I passed yesterday, but my old and sometimes hopelessly outdated guide described it as a tiny mountain garrison village for rangers and local fur hunters. Definitely not a place worth visiting. Once again, the guide was wrong. I was used to it. Sometimes I thought that maybe I should get a new edition, but in the end I always decided to keep mine. It made my wanderings more interesting. Fort Asbro became a boomtown about a decade ago when someone found seams of cinnabar worth mining, just a mile from the original hill fort. It was still a small town with maybe 2,000 of souls living there, mostly miners and hunters, but it did look like a place I could, maybe, spend a part of the winter, if I could find some work worthy of a wandering princess. I was lucky. The garrison had its own doctor, an old guy, but his mind was still as sharp as his scalpels, and his hands were still sure and steady, though weakened by an advanced age. After I had answered a few questions about setting broken bones and sewing wounds, correctly identified all herbs and potions except few who were his own recipe, he hired me as his nurse and assistant. As usual, the selling point was that I'm a nurse capable of holding a restless patient during surgery without any anesthetics, and I can administer an emergency anesthetic with my fist if it's really needed. It didn't pay much, but the position came with my own tiny room and food from the garrison kitchen. I was very lucky indeed. The other possible job I considered before I actually looked around the town was working for a local blacksmith. I'm good with horses, and I don't mind heavy work, but the blacksmith was a dwarf. I didn't bother asking him if he would take me. He'd be sure I was joking. And he'd get angry if I told him I'm not.
One last question, Tina. You don't have to answer truthfully if you don't want to. You're not a human, am I right?
I hesitated. Fort Asbro and everything on the side of the granite mountain range belonged to the kingdom of Sonodon, which was a bit too harsh on anyone who wasn't either human or a member of one of the generally accepted common races. True magical beings were banned and hunted down by rangers and night hunters, guys who specialized in hunting monsters on their own turf. One of the reasons for my trek over the mountains was the fact that Grenacia was supposed to be more laid back about such things. My hesitation took only a brief moment, but it was enough for him to add.
I'm not judging. I wouldn't mind if you were something demonic, which you most certainly are not. I spend a lot of time around various non-humans, and I'm just professionally curious. Your anatomy is slightly wrong, but I can't just put my finger on it. I'm pretty sure you're not magically changed, so it's a puzzle for me.
I went for the truth, with just a tiny bit of misdirection. I'm probably some kind of a crossbreed, Doctor, although I have no idea who my father actually was. My mother was a simple woman. She told me she was in the woods picking berries and had a random encounter with a man she described as a sweet, handsome, and slender prince. He actually told her he was a prince and that he'll become a king one day. She believed him and let him seduce her. She never saw him again. She didn't even ask for his name. But she believed that I'm a princess until she died.
Handsome and slender? You're a lovely woman, Tina. But from your size and strength, I would expect an orc if they could interbreed with humans. Or maybe an ogre. But they supposedly became extinct a long time ago. Oh, sorry. It came out wrong. I didn't mean it as an insult.
No offense taken, Doctor. I was called ogres before. I don't mind it. I was traveling with a trope for a while, and when I told them my story, they started to call me the tiny ogre princess. They even wrote a song about me.
I know that song. The ogre princess might be tiny, but her eyes are oh so shiny. Is that it?
Yes. I was surprised. The old doctor was so nice that I forgot myself for a moment and told more than I should have.
That song. Ah, well, let's forget it.
Why?
Dan Bart, I were messing with you a bit, Tina. That song is really old. Just not very well known. Sorry. I shouldn't have told you. It must felt nice having your own song.
I wasn't sure what to say. Oh, those bastards. But you know, I don't mind. That song fits me anyway. Fort Asbro was a lot like the place where I grew up with my mom, but way nicer. People were friendlier, and it wasn't just because I was all grown and big now. They were just nicer to each other and to me. Sure, there were some catcalls and indecent offers at first, although the doctor served the entire town and Most of our business came from the endless stream of minor injuries from the mines. We were technically part of the garrison at the original fort. And soldiers are soldiers, no matter what race they are, or what kingdom they serve, or what gender they are. One of the more direct offers came from the only woman in the garrison, a 30-something-year-old ranger who looked a bit like Elf, except for her ears. I was pretty sure she made it on a dare from the others, who tried and lost against my shy smile and iron-hard refusal if a smile and a shake of a head wasn't enough. It never got past the usual friendly teasing, which was good. Mostly I kept to myself, but I made a small talk, told some little stories, even learned some of their names, and managed to remember them, at least for a while. I wasn't the only new face in town because some people from the caravan that brought me here decided to stay in town over the winter too. And another small caravan arrived just the next day with more people to stay for a while, or maybe permanently. I could hear them talking about me, but it wasn't anything bad. Generally stuff like, "What a gentle soul for someone so big. She's so shy, probably an introvert. Her face is not that bad, too bad she's so fat." "You're blind, you idiot. Sure, she has some fat on her, but look at the way she moves. The way she dresses masks it, makes her just seem huge. But I'm pretty sure she has more muscles than you do, shaped in a way that would make you drool if you saw her without her clothes. Seeing her naked might make me wet if she had shown any interest when I tried to tease her. But she seemed shy, like a virgin or a priestess." That was the moment when I decided that I definitely don't want to be in the town during a full moon. If something happened, the guys from the garrison would be bad enough, but that the ranger, that would be embarrassing again. I got asked about my magic wand. Sooner or later people do that when they realize I'm always carrying my huge stick everywhere. "It's my magic wand," I said to a bunch of soldiers. Some of them looked at me with a suspicion in their eyes. As I said, that kingdom wasn't exactly friendly to anything magical.
Like a real magic? You're a wizard? A witch?
"No, my wand can do only a few tricks, but it was always enough for me. I can do hobble. This one, if it hits anyone's head, means sleep. And then there's my favorite, fly away. Oh, there's one more, but it's not a spell I'm using much, unless someone really asking for it."
What's that?
I smiled at him and swung the heavy wooden staff upwards almost as fast as I could and stopped just a few inches from his crotch. His eyes popped out. "Castrate. But I don't like to use this one unless I really have to." Everyone laughed, even the scared guy, and they all thought it was a good joke. Some people won't recognize magic unless you really beat them with it. Overall, though, I settled in rather well. Better than in most places I've been lately. I got to know people in town and the garrison. I could have made good friends if I wanted to, but everyone accepted that I tend to be shy and a bit of a loner. I'm hard to miss in a crowd, but I thought I was doing a great job blending in. But then, there was this horse who got spooked by a group of hunters arguing in a courtyard. The horse was pulling a cart with an injured miner when it suddenly started around wildly and had to be stopped before someone got hurt. So I stepped in and administered one emergency anesthetic to the head of a poor runaway horse. Half of the garrison saw how I dropped that horse with a single punch. They started to believe in my magic. Told you so, I overheard a female ranger whisper to her friend. Even though it got me a lot of respect from the garrison, it was a mistake. It caused some of the rangers to take too much interest in me, especially some of the night hunters, those who were usually patrolling around the town looking for the monsters, made me a little nervous. I spent 2 rather happy weeks in Fort Asbro. I talked a lot with the old doctor, both on and off the job. We swapped our stories and compared our thoughts on medical theories I knew well enough to dare discussing them. The doctor had spent most of his life down in the capital, but for some reason he never told me he decided to move to the country a few years ago and ended up in the little border town. I liked him. I liked his library even more. I loved it. If there's one thing I feel sorry when it comes to my lifestyle, it's books. You just can't carry many books when you spend most of your time on the road and on foot. I tended to stay away from big cities, and most small towns didn't have public libraries. Those few trunks of various, mostly medical books the doctor had stashed away in his rooms were just wonderful. It took me a while to discover that I actually loved to read. That's definitely something I must have inherited from my father. The letters and my mother, well, she was very proud that she could write her own name. For a pure-blooded ogress, that was actually a huge achievement. Something almost unheard of. My natural choice of a mate would be a big and strong guy. That's the type I'm generally attracted to. I guess that's something I've inherited from my mother. But if the doctor was younger and interested, who knows? Fort Asbro quickly became one of the few places I visited on my wanderings where I could imagine settling down and starting a family, if I was capable of doing something like that. Sooner or later, my wanderlust will force me to look for another place in my never-ending quest for my true love. Or there will be another damn random encounter that will just mess everything. And there was another problem looming on the horizon. The full moon was getting close. I was pretty sure I could get by if I stayed locked up in my tiny room, imitating symptoms of some minor sickness. The doctor was so old that he was probably safe even if my curse decided to flare unexpectedly like it used to in the distant past. But I didn't want to risk an incident, and my wanderlust was already calling. Well, whispering. For now. I felt happy there, and I expected to stay for at least a few more months, up until the spring. There was a pile of books I could borrow and read, but I also felt like I was in a trap. Already, only after 2 weeks. Going out for 2 or 3 days should help. I did spend some afternoons in the woods outside the town walls, but it wasn't enough. I needed to get away, deeper in the wilderness. The winter was still very mild in the foothills around the fort. There was some snow, but not much. One should ask too many questions if I go for a short trip to the wild. Except that there was a full moon. The damn full moon. It was getting close. Um, Doctor, could I take a few days off? 3 days during the full moon. I was thinking about gathering some snowberries and some other stuff that's most potent when harvested during the full moon, while the weather is still so mild.
Don't tell me you're already feeling that wanderlust of yours, princess.
Just a teensy little bit. I'm so used to living on a road, it just feels strange staying in one place, especially indoors.
The full moon isn't exactly a safe time to be out. Sure, the night rangers and hunters are claiming that they hunted everything dangerous nearby, but still.
I'm a big girl, Doctor, and I have my wand. I'll take my bow too, so maybe I'll bring back an elk or a moose if the hunters left any in the woods.
Still, it's not safe.
It will be safer for me outside. People, even normal people, tend to get a bit crazier under a full moon. And due to an unfortunate coincidence, it tends to be worse for me.
If I hadn't seen you using a silver scalpel, I might.
Uh, it's not that, Doctor. It's the time of the month when I tend to be not so friendly. I snap at people, get angry easily.
What do you mean?
This time of month, Doctor. My time.
Oh, sorry.
I didn't want anyone in the fort to think I was sneaking away, so I made a show of asking some of the rangers for good places to gather the stuff I wanted to bring back. And of course, that led to other complications when the female ranger offered to accompany me. I should be heading out for a patrol in that direction in a few days anyway, so we could have a girls' days out. She said that with a big smile. I responded with a bit of panic, which was actually real enough. No! Don't take it personally, but I'd almost prefer company of a guy, even if people would talk afterwards. Hey, easy, Tina. I was just teasing you. It was just a joke. Oh, so you're no longer worried I'd make you wet if you saw me without my clothes? I guess someone was spreading rumors. No, I've heard you myself. No offense, but no. I'm not into that. Not just because I'm shy, but I'm no priestess. You heard me? I hadn't noticed you. You're surprisingly sneaky for someone so big. You might make a good ranger. Our little discussion had been overheard, and someone was spreading rumors in the fort, especially one so juicy. It made me very happy, because it stopped all other rangers from offering me company for my little harvesting expedition to the forest. My shy virgin act was really good. Maybe my father was a bard, and I inherited his acting skills. He really was a bard. It was too bad that I didn't get his singing voice too. The last time I tried to sing, all the dogs who could hear me would have committed a mass suicide if they had a way to do it. Or they would have torn me to pieces if they weren't locked in a kennel. They had to resort to a loud, terrified howl. The guys in the castle who talked me into singing said that dogs howling had a better melody than my song. And I refused to say what the horses did. And so there I was, snuggled comfortably in a small camp I had set up on a deserted hill, protected from the wind and occasional snowflakes by a lean-to. I had a small fire to keep me warm. It also provided just enough light so I could read the book I borrowed from the doctor. I've gathered enough snowberries already and had a few packs of lichen I promised to bring too. The full moon was coming. I could sense it behind mountains, slowly rising up. The ability to sense it was one of the things I got from my curse that were actually useful sometimes. It was time to relax, sleep, and then walk slowly back to the town. I've picked a place where nothing could sneak up on me. Or so I thought.
What are you reading?
A treatise on tropical melodies. I responded calmly. The voice that asked the question sounded familiar.
That's a rather strange book for a woman to be reading in the middle of the winter forest.
Why? One of the shadows turned into a man in a heavy fur cloak adorned with lots of silver. He squatted down near my fire and asked,
Would you mind if I sit here by a fire for a while?
Be my guest? It was one of the night hunters from the ranger detachment. I've seen him just once or twice, and we exchanged maybe 5 words, maybe less. It was another stupid, random encounter. He was patrolling nearby and must have sensed the smoke from my little fire. Why do you think it's strange for me to read a book in the forest? I have nothing else to do. I'm not sleepy, so I read.
You don't think it's strange that a lonely woman sits in the middle of the forest when she could be resting in a town only a few miles away, especially during full moon?
He sounded amused, but there was an aura of danger covering him like another invisible cloak. My instincts warned me that this guy could be trouble. This encounter wasn't so random after all. I might need my magic wand. I was told you guys are keeping the area around the town safe. I was gathering snowberries and lichen and moss for the doctor. Some of it's most potent when harvested at night during the full moon.
Yeah, I heard about your excuse. About all the excuses you've made. I might be inclined to believe it if there wasn't more that's, let's just say, strange about you, Tina.
Like what?
Oh, come on. Let's not fool around. Should I list all of it? The way you move, how big you are, how strong you are, how much you need to eat even though you try to hide it. You're careful when you talk about yourself. Sometimes you forget how much time has passed from the events you're describing as they were yesterday, not decades ago. Sure, most of the people around won't notice, especially when it's a story from another world. I'm not most people. You're way older than you look. And you feel the need to be alone, away from people, during the full moon.
Is that all?
Oh, there's one more thing, but it's the most important one.
And what's that?
Your magic.
You mean my wand?
I heard a story about your wand and what spells it has. I guess with the muscles and power you have, it might look like a magic to the normals. But that's not what I was talking about. You're very good at masking it. Way better than I thought possible. But when the moon was getting close, your controls start to slip. I sensed it when you were leaving the town, and I decided to follow you. Now, with the full moon so close, I came to talk with you.
I don't know what you're talking about. I was getting nervous. It wasn't the first time when someone noticed the stuff he told me and made a wrong deduction.
I can sense it from you, clearly. It's strong now. I just don't know what type you are. And I'm curious.
A type of what?
You're a Therianotrop.
What? My laugh might have sounded forced a bit. He was a hunter wearing a lot of silver. He specialized in hunting magical creatures, and he thought I was his prey. And he was toying with me. I was sure he would try to strike me down if I tried to move. You think I'm a werewolf? Is that it, oh mighty and wise hunter of everything that skulks in this forest? Why don't you try some of your silver on me? That offer made him laugh. It was not the reaction I expected.
No, you're not a wolf. Your sound is weirdly familiar, but I just can't place it. From the way you look in the human form, I would guess a bear. But that's not it either. So, what are you? Or are you going to force me to wait until the moon rises?
I'm not a werewolf or any other were-something.
No. And what you are, Tina? What is this magic I can smell so clearly from you?
I decided to tell him the truth. I almost never do that. But I was afraid of it and hoped to persuade him. Well, I wasn't afraid of him, but for him. I was pretty sure I could take him with the help of my wand, but he seemed nice. Sure, he was big, strong, and dangerous. But he didn't feel evil, more like cuddly. And he had a pretty face. I didn't want to break that pretty face. If he decided I'm a monster, he should hunt. What you sense is what remains of my curse. Once upon a time, in a world far, far away, a curse was put on me. It might have been intended as a blessing, a gift, but it was a curse that seriously complicated my life. I learned to live with it, but I'm used to being alone around a full moon. It still feels safer when I'm alone, far from the others. And I actually wanted to replenish the doctor's stock and have some time alone, away from people. It wasn't just excuses.
Who cursed you and why?
It's a long story.
We still have some time before the moon rises. I'm all ears.
It was another stupid random encounter. I was camping in the woods all depressed and annoyed, and had a brilliant idea of getting drunk. For the first time in my life. All I had was a bottle of almost pure alcohol I've bought as a disinfectant, but I mixed it with some water and some crushed berries I found. It was a stupid idea. Few sips were enough to get me drunk and dizzy. I considered throwing the bottle away when suddenly...
Hello, wanderer. May I warm myself by your fire?
The voice sounded old and weary. I thought it must be some old grandma who got lost. I was so young and naive, so I told her, "Sure, there's enough for both of us." But she was no grandmother. I don't know what she was. I thought elf, maybe. She looked young, but felt old, ancient. Now, years later, I'm guessing she must have been some kind of the legendary fae. But she seemed friendly and harmless enough. And I was already drunk, so when she sat down by my fire, I offered her my bottle. If you still feel cold, try this. It tastes horrible, but it will definitely warm you up. I feel like I'm on fire myself.
Well, this is definitely the strongest wine I've ever tasted. Thank you, young lady.
I'm no lady. and we started to chat. I told her all about my stupid life. How my mother got seduced by a would-be prince and got thrown out of the tribe. How I grew up in a small mining village and how my mother died in a stupid random encounter with a bunch of drunken miners. And I had to run away before I got dragged through gallows for killing them. I told her how I decided to look out for my father, but I had no idea how I could find him and recognize him. She was a good listener. She wanted me to say more, asked me a few questions. She also drank a bit and passed the bottle back. I got so drunk I told her all about my dreams. I want to find my true love. A man strong, fierce, great warrior, yet gentle and kind. Hey, I was a teenager, maybe 16 or 17, possibly younger.
You don't know how old you are.
My mother was rather simple. I started counting it myself when I learned how, but I was never sure. Neither was she. So, there I was, talking to a strange, mysterious woman in the forest. Talking about how I want to find my true love and see the worlds, all of them, maybe even find the man who was my father. How I want to know if I'm really a princess or not. And then I said, but I might as well wish for a fairy godmother, or a miracle, or something.
I don't know about miracles, but fairy godmother, that I can do. You shared your fire and your strange but strong wine with me. You entertained me with your story. I will be your fairy godmother. I'm sorry it took me so many years to find you. Truly, a very strong wine. It's embarrassing, but I'm actually not sure what fairy godmothers are supposed to do.
I'm not sure myself. There was something about free wishes or gifts. No, I'm probably mixing it up with another story.
Oh, wishes that I can do. So, what do you wish for, my child? That true love you spoke of? Done. You will be walking the world, still young and beautiful as you are now, until you find your true love. A man mighty and strong, yet gentle.
Young and beautiful. Have you seen my face? Can't you see how stupidly big and huge I am?
Sight is not the only sense that's important. You're pretty enough, and I'm going to give you some magic that will help you. Everyone will love you.
She waved the wand again, and I could have sworn I sensed some weird tingling all over my skin. She had another drink, and the bottle was empty. She stared for a moment, then dropped it down.
I might have overdone it a bit. Your wine is just too strong. You have so many suitors, you'll have to chase them away with a stick.
She started to laugh again. It was so contagious that I had to join her. We laughed so hard it must have been heard throughout the whole forest. Somewhere in the distance, wolves started howling like they were trying to join us. Suddenly, she stopped laughing and looked me directly in the eyes.
Oh, yes. You'll need a stick. A big, heavy stick.
I'd rather have a magic wand like you. She giggled, stood up, and pulled on the branch of the nearest tree. It was the moment when I decided I must be dreaming, because the big branch lost all of the leaves and twigs and just became a big, heavy stick. She threw it at me. I barely managed to catch it. It was surprisingly heavy.
Thank you for your wine and fire.
She winked at me and just disappeared. I took a look at the stick, dropped it on the ground, and I fell asleep. The next day, when I woke up with my first and last hangover, I was sure it was just a stupid drunken dream. Until I found this strangely shaped wooden stick by my side.
So you got this from your fairy godmother.
Yeah, I don't know who or what she was. Maybe she meant well. But she cursed me for all eternity.
Let me guess. The next full moon, you found out about your curse.
Yeah,
Must have been awkward.
you have no idea. Luckily, the curse got weaker over time. Nowadays, I don't need to get away from everyone around a full moon. But I got so used to being alone in some deserted place that I still do it.
That's not how the word curse works. Once you get it, there's no going back.
I'm not a werewolf. My curse, like most magic, was just strongest around the full moon. She cursed me with what she promised. Everyone loved me. Everyone. Every male. Some of the females. Just couldn't help it when they were around me while the curse was active. They wanted me. More than anything.
Really.
Really. Everyone. Well, luckily just every mammal. I was lucky that I was alone in the forest when the first full moon came. A bunch of rabbits tried to gank rape me. Well, parents would say it was a fluffle rape. Then one hedgehog joined them. He was sort of pathetic, but really insistent. It's not so funny when a bear tries it, or a wolf pack, or a group of previously nice mercenaries I met on the road, and I wasn't able to shake off when the moon came up. I had to use my wand a lot.
You're telling the truth, are you?
Yes.
You were really cursed with being irresistible.
Yeah, I think it changed the way I smell. As soon as anyone got downwind and smelled me, they just had to try to get me. But it got weaker and weaker, and it's no longer working. It hasn't been for years.
If it's sand-based, that would explain it. Oh, shit. You told me the truth. You're not a werewolf.
No, I'm not. I'm not a werewolf or werebear or any other were something. I'm not something for you to hunt.
Oh, shit, I thought you were teasing me, flirting with me. You seem like one of those girls who like to talk up until the last moment.
What are you talking about?
It all made sense, even that story about your curse. When you told me that old witch used magic on you so you can find a great and strong male, I was sure she transformed you to some sort of Dianothrop, a were creature.
I'm not a werewolf.
But I am. You smell like one of us. I was so sure you were one of us. I thought you must have sensed the fake silver on me. You must have smelled me and recognized me for what I am. I thought you were flirting with me and playing with words while we waited for the full moon. when we can change and have some fun. I'm so sorry. I'm one of those whose beast is hard to control. That's why I always patrol the forests alone during the full moon. Shit. I don't know what to do. We don't have much time. The moon will rise over the mountains any moment now. I'll try to control it as much as I can, but you must run. Run away. Maybe climb up a tree. When I'm transformed, I suck at climbing.
I suck at climbing too. And I'm not built for running.
Girl, please. Run. I don't want to hurt you.
Well, if that beast of yours is one of those guys who just can't take no as no, I have my wand. He was actually quite nice, and I could see that he was really struggling to keep himself under control. So I didn't use castrate, although his beast was asking for it. He also had a rather nice face in his human form. Even transformed, he looked cute and cuddly, until he started to growl at me. I didn't want to risk disfiguring his pretty face, so I decided against using the sleep. I stuck to hobbles and flies. I needed a lot of them. Maybe I should have used a sleeper too. It might have been easier for both of us. The regeneration powers of were creatures, especially when transformed, are legendary. But my magic wand somehow messed with it and slowed it down, close to normal human levels. The day after the full moon, when we got back to the town, his bones were still being held together mostly by my splints, and he couldn't walk by himself, though being a great alpha male, he insisted on trying. I actually carried him most of the way, but he refused to enter the town like a helpless victim. So he limped on his own, slowly and painfully, while I carried both of our bags and supported him with my hand as best I could. "What the hell happened to you out there?" A guard on the town wall called to us, then rushed down to the gate to open it for us. You wouldn't believe it if I told you. Let's just say it was a stupid, random encounter. "With the goddamn fairy godmother," the hunter growled quietly.